Part 99. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 981. I looked at Su Tianxian and smiled. Actually, I don't like to call you Tianxian, I prefer to call you Master. Su Tianxian was slightly stunned and asked, why? I thought about it and replied, because, if I call you Master, you will look at me with a doting look on your face. I'm not talking nonsense. Every time I call Master, the look in Su Tianxian's eyes will reveal a touch of tenderness. Su Tianxian rolled her eyes at me and said, I didn't. I smiled and said, whether it is, you and I both know. Su Tianxian lowered his eyes, his face flushed slightly, and then he waved his hands repeatedly and said, go. Go. I forgive you. Sure enough, girls all need to be coaxed. I stood up and said to Su Tianxian, I will definitely be back before dawn. Just wait here for me. Su Tianxian nodded slightly, and I turned around and walked towards the door. Just when I was about to leave, Su Tianxian suddenly sat up from the bed and shouted at my back, Xiao Su. I hesitated, turned around, and looked at her in confusion. The corners of Su Tianxian's mouth raised slightly, showing a sweet smile, and said, I'll wait for you to come back. My heart warmed and I replied, okay. With that, I left the room. After what happened to Penglai Fairy Island last time, the distance between Su Tianxian and I has become much closer invisibly. I think the relationship between me and her is no longer as simple as master and apprentice. However, we knew it well and no one revealed it. There are simply too many things we have to face in the future. This identity is suitable for the two of us. Su Tianxian no longer hides his emotions like before. She can be coquettish, jealous, and angry. I think the Su Tianxian is her truest self. Before this, she had never met anyone who could truly enter her heart. There is a reason why I chose to let Su Tianxian stay here. The situation in Bamang Mountain is unknown. If something really happened to me, she would be able to rush to rescue me as soon as possible. Miao Fengluan stood under the tree in the yard and waited for me quietly. When she saw me coming, her eyes showed surprise. She waved at me and said, Lu Su. I came to her side and said, let's go. Miao Fengluan nodded. After leaving the village chief's house, I decided to go to Mamangu to have a look. Bamang Mountain is huge, and it will be a waste of time if you explore aimlessly. The village chief pointed out the direction of Mamangu during the day. Miao Fengluan and I walked side by side on the dirt road in the village. The moon hung high in the sky, emitting cold moonlight, and the mountain wind whistled by us. The whole night seemed unusually silent. We soon arrived at the entrance of the village, and suddenly, a figure flashed in front of my eyes. I was slightly stunned and looked in the direction where the figure disappeared. After much hesitation, I decided to take a look. As soon as he took a step, a piercing cry sounded in his ears. The voice was not loud, but it was whimpering, and the tone was full of sadness. Miao Fengluan and I looked at each other, and I followed the direction of the sound. After passing a bush, a small figure came into my sight. The figure's shoulders were loose and it looked like she was crying. Hearing the movement behind him, the figure turned around suddenly, and the cold moonlight poured down, shining directly on the figure, and I just happened to see his appearance clearly. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 982. It was a little girl, her face was covered with tears, she looked pitiful and lovable. The little girl is not a person, but a ghost. However, her Taoism is very shallow, and she is just a lonely ghost. When she saw me, she looked wary, backed away, and was about to run away. Upon seeing this, I quickly used Nine Eyes' heavenly domain and disappeared instantly. When I reappeared, I was already in front of the little girl. I blocked her way, and she looked at me with watery eyes full of tears. What do you want to do? the little girl said in panic, with only fear in her words. I knelt down, looked at the little girl, and asked, "What are you doing here?" The little girl looked at me warily and answered word by word, I want to go home to my daddy." I was stunned for a moment and asked, "Dad?" The little girl nodded and said, "I was captured by the bad guys, and then I ran out." I looked at the little girl in front of me. The little girl is very cute, wearing gorgeous silk clothes. She has a very neat bun, especially the phoenix hairpin in her hair, which is particularly dazzling, just like a little princess. There are various signs that the identity of the little female ghost in front of him is not simple. "Where is your home?" The little girl shook her head and refused to say anything. I know she is afraid of me. No. Do I look that scary? I waved to Miao Fengluan and motioned for her to come over. Miao Fengluan came to me, and I whispered in her ear, "The identity of this little female ghost is not simple. Please help me ask where her home is." Miao Fengluan nodded, then squatted down and smiled at the little girl. "Kid, don't cry. If you have anything to say, tell your sister. She might be able to help you." Miao Fengluan's smile was warm and contagious. The vigilant look on the little ghost girl's face slowly disappeared, but she still didn't speak. Miao Fengluan stretched out her slender hand, gently wiped the tears on the little ghost girl's face, and said, "Okay. Don't cry. Neither my sister nor my eldest brother are bad people." Under Miao Fengluan's gentle words, the little female ghost felt reassured and alert. With tears in her eyes, she looked at Miao Fengluan pitifully. Seeing this scene, I couldn't help but shake my head and smile bitterly. Miao Fengluan's character is easy for people to get close to. Xiao He, Nai Dai and Pleiades Chicken all like her. Thinking about it carefully, even his cold sister had a very good attitude towards Miao Fengluan. Miao Fengluan felt a little distressed when she saw the little ghost girl looking like this. She stretched out her hand and gently held the little ghost in her arms. Miao Fengluan's action completely broke the strong defense line in the little ghost girl's heart. The little ghost girl burst out crying. She hugged Miao Fengluan tightly and vented her inner grievances wantonly. After crying for a long time, the little female ghost Kayang's nose slightly wrinkled, and she stretched out her chubby little hand to wipe the tears from her face. "Sister, will you really help me?" Miao Fengluan nodded and said, "Of course. Sister will not lie to you." The little female ghost lowered her eyes and whispered, "I want to go home, but I can't go back." "Why?" Miao Fengluan asked. The little female ghost replied, "Because mine was occupied by a group of bad guys, my father was arrested by them. If I hadn't been clever, I would have been caught by them." After hearing this, I asked, "Your father? Who is your father?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 983. The little female ghost's eyes were still full of fear when she looked at me. She whispered, It's the Ghost King of Bamang." When I heard these 4 words, I was stunned on the spot. Bamang Ghost King. The little female ghost in front of me turned out to be the daughter of Bamang Ghost King. What the little female ghost just said has already shown that Bamang Mountain is no longer under the control of the Bamang Ghost King. Could it be that Zhang Yuchang arrested the Bamang Ghost King? This is a bit unrealistic, right? The Bamang Ghost King should not be so weak. I continued to ask, "Little guy, tell your elder brother what happened." The little female ghost hesitated and said again and again, "A few days ago, a bad guy suddenly came to Bamang Mountain, and he found my father." The little female ghost slowly narrated, and I also understood how things developed. The bad guy mentioned by the little ghost is Zhang Yuchang. A few days ago, Jiang Yuchaim came here to find the Ghost King of Mangshan, intending to form an alliance with him and launch a mutiny in the underworld. However, the Ghost King of Mangshan did not agree to Jiang Yuchaim's request. Later, Mangshan Ghost King and Jiang Yuchaim took action, and the two of them fought inextricably. At this time, many sleeping emperors in Bamang Mountain suddenly appeared and stood on Jiang Yuchaim's side. The ending is self-evident. The Ghost King of Mang Mountain was defeated. Jiang Yuchaim took this opportunity to seize the military power of the Ghost King of Mang Mountain and blockaded the entire Bamang Mountain. I have seen the consequences of having military power taken away before. That is, all the Yin soldiers will take orders from the person holding the military seal. I also know what happened later. The underworld learned that there was a possibility of mutiny in Bamang Mountain, and sent troops to suppress it. Then Xiang Yi encountered trouble from Jiang Yuchaim and was trapped in Bamang Mountain. Entering Bamang Mountain now is tantamount to committing suicide. Perhaps, when we arrived in this village, Jiang Yuchaim already knew of our existence and planned to let us fall into his trap. What should I do? The little female ghost raised her head and asked, "Big brother, big sister, you will help me, right?" Miao Fengluan didn't know how to answer, so she glanced at me. She was on my side after all. I knelt down, stretched out my hand and rubbed the little female ghost's head, and said, "Of course. But you have to promise me one thing." The little female ghost nodded repeatedly after hearing this and said, "Brother, tell me, no matter what it is, I will agree. You have to lead the way for us. Bamang Mountain is extremely dangerous. If I enter recklessly, I will definitely not end well." The little female ghost nodded and said, "Okay. I still want to go to Mamingu. After all, I want to see with my own eyes what the entire Bamang Mountain is like." Then, Miao Fengluan and the little female ghost and I walked towards Mamingu. According to legend, the real identity of the Ghost King of Mang Mountain is Cao, a great hero of the generation. I don't know whether this rumor is true or not. However, whether it is true or not, I can be sure that the Mangshan Ghost King and I have the same enemy, and that is Jiang Yuchaim. Just when we were about to arrive at Mamingu, I stopped and said to Miao Fengluan, "Fengluan, I'll have to work hard for you next." Miao Fengluan smiled and said, "It's okay." After saying that, Miao Fengluan used divine hiding on me and the little female ghost. Then, we walked into Mamingu. The old village chief said that on the 15th of every month, Mamingu would make the sound of horseshoes and soldiers neighing. Wait, it's like today is the 15th. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 984. Walking into Mamingu is like walking on the path leading to hell. A mysterious breath fell on my face. The surrounding vegetation was lush, and the mountain wind blew through the vegetation, rustling the vegetation. Just when I wanted to take Miao Fengluan and the little female ghost forward, the sound of horse hooves came from the end of the deep and dark path. The neat sound of horse hooves and the dull sound of footsteps made the entire Maming Valley tremble. I quickly took Miao Fengluan and the little female ghost and hid in the bushes. Although you are protected by Shinayan, you must be cautious. Footsteps, horse hooves, and roars were getting closer and closer, and a strong yin energy came from the darkness. The cold moonlight pours down, like a stage light, shining directly on the ravine path in Maming Valley. Beyond the path, there was darkness. Suddenly, a Yin soldier wearing armor walked out of the darkness, bathed in the moonlight, followed by a second Yin soldier, and a third Yin soldier. Countless Yin soldiers seemed to have walked out of hell. They walked towards us step by step with neat and powerful steps. These Yin soldiers had serious expressions, and their cold eyes looked around vigilantly, as if they were looking for something. I have some doubts in my heart. What are these dark soldiers wary of? Soon, all the Yin soldiers came out of the darkness and were all exposed to the moonlight. Suddenly, these Yin soldiers stopped, assumed a fighting stance, and stared at the mountains on both sides of Mamingu. Just when I was wondering what would happen next, there was a rustling sound in the mountains, followed by the sound of trees being crushed. Something big is approaching Mamingu. I followed the sound and saw a huge black shadow crawling at an extremely fast speed on the mountain range on the left. Wherever it passed, trees collapsed and shrubs were damaged. I frowned and saw that the outline of this huge black shadow looked like a giant python. This immediately reminded me of the illusion about Bamang Mountain. The two boys chased the python. According to legend, there lived an old Taoist and his two disciples on Kunlun Mountain. The three of them practiced on Kunlun Mountain day and night. One day, the old Taoist suddenly told the two disciples that he was going to find an old friend. Before leaving, he told his two disciples that the big pot in the fairy cave was cooking a python caught from the East China Sea. Firewood should be placed under the pot from time to time, and water should be added to the pot from time to time. Remember this. Then the old man drove away on a crane. The two apprentices always remembered the Taoist instructions and added water to the big pot every day. But 100 years have passed, and the old Taoist still hasn't come back. The two apprentices couldn't bear the loneliness and decided to go out to play. The two hit it off, and before leaving, they set a big fire under the cauldron. The two apprentices went down the mountain to play, but they still remembered the big python in the pot. After that, the two people hurried back, but they were dumbfounded after going back. The fire at the bottom of the pot had long been extinguished, and the python had drank all the water in the pot. The two looked around and saw the yellow python fleeing towards the East China Sea, leaving a yellow waterway where it passed. The two of them hurriedly chased along the yellow waterway. The yellow python discovered them and hurriedly changed its route and ran north. In this way, the two men and the python started a chase. Wherever Huang Mang went, a yellow waterway would be formed, which is the Yellow River with 9 twists and turns. In the end, it was the old Taoist who personally came forward to subdue Huang Mang. The two apprentices also paid for their mistakes. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 985. The two little disciples turned into two mountains and stayed on both sides of the waterway forever. People called the yellow waterway left by the yellow python the Yellow River, and the mountain the two little disciples turned into was called Zui Python Mountain. Later, people changed the name of this mountain to Bamang Mountain. Could it be that the giant python in front of me is the one in the children chasing the python? The giant python rushed down from the mountain, opened its bloody mouth and attacked the Yin soldiers in Mamingu. And in this one, I also saw the true appearance of the python. The whole body is brown and yellow, just like the water of the Yellow River, and the snake's head is huge, like a locomotive. Because the Yin soldiers were vigilant before, they launched an attack on Huang Mang the moment he appeared. The archers drew their bows and shot arrows, while the others raised their weapons and greeted Huang Mang. Huang Mang has rough skin and thick flesh, so the Yin soldiers' attacks did little harm to Huang Mang. However, these Yin soldiers are also very skilled, and they have a tacit understanding of each other, specifically picking Huang Mang 7 inches to fight. As time went by, Huang Mang became increasingly powerless. I don't understand why these underworld soldiers want to attack this Huang Mang. Recalling Yin Bing's previous actions, it seemed that he knew Huang Mang would come here. Is there something special about this Huang Mang? I thought about it and couldn't think of a reason. I squeezed my hand to invite the divine art, and asked Lu Hangxuan to come up. After a while, Lu Hangxuan's voice appeared in my ears. Lu Su, what happened? Lu Hangxuan asked with some concern. I pointed at the yellow mango and asked, what kind of existence is this yellow mango? Lu Hangxuan was silent for a while, probably observing the yellow mango. This Huang Mang is called the sea-swallowing python. It can swallow seawater, store it, and then spit it out. To put it simply, it can bring floods to the world. Sea swallowing python. Lu Hangsuan thought for a while and said, the reason why these yin soldiers attacked the sea swallowing python is to control it and then achieve some goals. After all, the existence of the sea swallowing python is easily missed by people with ulterior motives. I nodded. It seems that this is another trick of Zhang Yucheng. The sea swallowing python can spit out floods. If this was manipulated by Zhang Yucheng to deal with the underworld, it would be a great weapon. Thinking of this, I made a decision to rescue the sea swallowing python. At this moment, a ghost general suddenly took out a talisman and threw it into the air. Immediately afterwards, the talisman unfolded, and a large formation enveloped Huang Mang. Seeing this situation, I no longer hesitated. I said to Miao Fengluan and the little ghost, you guys wait here for me. Miao Fengluan nodded and said with concern, pay attention to safety. I smiled, cast Nine Eyes Heavenly Domain and disappeared instantly. The next time it appeared was on the locomotive-like head of the sea-swallowing python. Because of the protection of Shinayan, the yin soldiers and the sea-swallowing python did not discover my existence. I looked at the golden formation hovering above my head. After some searching, I found the location of the formation I stretched out my right hand, held it in the air, and Jingxiao was held in my hand. I jumped up and stabbed towards the formation I in the formation above my head. Because the magic circle is descending at an extremely fast speed, the distance between me and the magic circle is not too far. With just one sword strike, I destroyed the magic circle. The sea-swallowing python also broke free from its restraints and began to struggle violently. When the yin soldiers saw this scene, they looked shocked and launched another attack on the sea-swallowing python. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 986. The sea-swallowing python had no intention of fighting anymore, twisted its huge body and crawled towards the mountains and forests. When passing Miao Fengluan and the little female ghost, I used the power of the Nine Eyes Heavenly Domain to transfer one person and one ghost to the snake head. The yin soldiers behind him reduced the swallowing sea python and left, launching a pursuit. Their speed was obviously not as fast as the sea-swallowing python. In a moment, the sea-swallowing python left these yin soldiers behind. The sea-swallowing python came all the way to a huge cave. Seeing that the time was right, I jumped off the sea-swallowing python. The sea-swallowing python is a rare fighting force. If it can stand on my side, it will be of great help to the next actions. Thinking of this, I asked Miao Fengluan to remove Shinayan. The hazy light lingering on my body slowly dissipated. The moment Shinayan disappeared, the sea-swallowing python felt the popularity. It turned back suddenly, its eyes glowed with bloodthirsty red light, and spit out the scarlet snake letter. It arched its huge body and was about to attack me. I said coldly, I saved you just now. Is it possible that you want to attack your savior? The sea-swallowing python is very spiritual. When it saw what I said, the bloodthirsty red light in its eyes slowly faded, but its eyes were still full of vigilance. At this moment, Lu Hangsuan's voice sounded in my ears. Lu Su, let me talk to it. I nodded and handed control of my body to Lu Hangsuan. An extremely powerful yin energy spread from my body, and even my pupils turned into those of snakes. The sea-swallowing python showed fear and awe after feeling the changes in my aura. I spoke slowly. You are so arrogant after meeting me. Who gave you the courage? The sound I made was not my own, but Lu Hangsuan's. The sea-swallowing python was stunned, and its huge body immediately prostrate on the ground, as if it was bowing to me. Lu Hangsuan said slowly, I see that your practice is not easy, so I won't argue with you. The sea-swallowing python's reaction when seeing Lu Hangsuan was also reasonable. Lu Hangsuan's status among the immortals is extremely high, with 1,000 years of Taoism. If it weren't for Yunziazi, she would have been in the immortal class long ago. The current Lu Hangxuan is even more terrifying. With the dragon bone she possesses, she will definitely be able to transform into a dragon given time. Lu Hangxuan saw the wound on the body of the sea-swallowing python, stepped forward and said, "I will heal the wound for you, but you must promise me something." The sea-swallowing python nodded, and Lu Hangxuan continued, "From now on, you must obey the orders of my disciples. No matter what he says, you must listen. I wonder if you would like that." The sea-swallowing python nodded again and again hesitantly. Lu Hangxuan stretched out her hand and placed it on the forehead of the sea-swallowing python. Then, a cold light flashed in the palm of her hand. The injuries on the sea-swallowing python were healing visibly to the naked eye. After doing these things, Lu Hangxuan said, "Don't worry, as long as you are obedient, I and my disciples will not treat you badly, and we will help you transform into a human form. As long as you practice with concentration, you will be able to rank among the immortals in time." A hint of excitement flashed in the sea-swallowing python's eyes. Lu Hangxuan gave me control of her body, and her voice echoed in my ears. "This sea-swallowing python has great potential and will definitely be able to help you with many things." I said, "Thank you very much." Lu Hangxuan chuckled lightly and said, "There is no need to be polite between you and me. By the way, I have one more thing to tell you." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 987. You say. I'm rushing in your direction now. I'll be there soon. I was slightly stunned. Lu Hangxuan had said before that she wanted to come find me. But I didn't expect her to act so quickly. It just so happened that Bamang Mountain was extremely dangerous, so Lu Hangxuan's presence would give him a better chance of winning. Okay, I get it. Afterwards, Lu Hangxuan's consciousness left my mind. I looked at the sea-swallowing python, and its eyes were full of respect for me at this moment. I hesitated for a moment, then summoned a piece of heavenly secret and attached it to the huge snake head of the sea-swallowing python. I said, "I will need your help later. This talisman will let you know that I am calling you." The sea-swallowing python nodded, "Miao Fengluan, and the little female ghost didn't stay too long in the cave. Walking towards the village at the foot of the mountain. By the time we returned to the village, the sun had already risen. I pushed open the courtyard door and saw Su Tianqian sitting quietly in the courtyard. I was slightly stunned and asked, "Tianqian, why are you here? Is it possible that you didn't sleep all night?" When Su Tianqian saw me coming back, the worry in her brows slowly subsided. She shook her head at me and said, "No, I just woke up." I glanced at Su Tianqian suspiciously. When I saw her slightly wet hair, I knew she was lying. She must have been waiting in the yard for my return since I left. There is frost and dew in the mountain village morning and evening. The reason why Su Tianxuan's hair is wet is simply because she has been sitting in the yard for too long. I was both touched and distressed. At this time, Xiao He walked out of the house, examined me, and when he saw me coming back, he said, "Boss, you are back. Master Tianqian has been in the yard since last night." Before the little black man could finish his words, Su Tianqian gave him a sharp look. Xiao He realized that he had said the wrong thing, so he quickly closed his mouth and left with an embarrassed look on his face. I came to Su Tianxuan's side and said, "Tianqian, don't do this again next time." Su Tianqian replied softly. I don't know if she listened to what I said. Later I learned that she would not make any compromises when it came to caring about me. I won't stop waiting. I called Su Tianqian into the room, and then drew the shabby bed curtains to make the room as dark as possible. Then I took out the soul locking tower and released the little female ghost. The little female ghost cannot see the light, so I can only put her in the soul locking tower. The little female ghost appeared, looked around timidly, and said nothing. I said, Tianqian, this little guy is the daughter of the Ghost King of Mang Mountain. Now the entire Mang Mountain is under Zhang Yucheng's control. Then, I told Su Tianqian exactly what happened last night. After hearing this, Su Tianqian nodded slightly, and then said, the most important thing now is to find Xiang Yi. Besides, I guess Zhang Yucheng himself is not in Bamang Mountain. I was slightly taken aback and asked, why do you say that? Xiao Su, do you still remember what we said before about inducing the tiger to leave the mountain? I suddenly realized that Zhang Yucheng trapped Xiang Yi entirely because he wanted to get the evil core from the other two places of the four evils. Although we knew we were trying to divert the tiger away from the mountain, there was nothing we could do. Because of Xiang Yi, I had to save him. Su Tianqian was silent for a moment and said, try if you can contact Xiang Yi. If you can contact him, everything will be easy. I nodded and replied, okay, I'll give it a try. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 988. I activated the ghost seal and called Xiang Yi's name in my heart. This time I activated the ghost seal, but the gate to the underworld did not appear. This gives me a bad feeling. Whether I can summon the gate of the underworld does not depend on me, but on Xiang Yi. Because the ghost seal was originally given to me by him. Ghost seal has an inseparable relationship with him. If Xiang Yi's soul is gone, the ghost mark in my hand will also disappear. I looked at the ghost mark in my hand and found that it was much darker. I frowned. It seemed that Xiang Yi was in danger now. I shook my head at Su Tianqian. Su Tianqian was also at a loss. Just at this moment, the gate to the underworld suddenly appeared. I felt happy, Xiang Yi felt my call. But the next second, the joy in my heart disappeared completely. Because it was not Xiang Yi who walked out of the gate of the underworld, but Mu Qing. Mu Qing was wearing a tight-fitting blue cheongsam, and her face was extremely haggard. Your Majesty Mu Qing, why are you here? I asked, pretending to be surprised. How could I not know the purpose of her coming here? He must be here to inquire about Xiang Yi's whereabouts. Xiang Yi told me before that I must not tell Mu Qing about him. It is not difficult to understand why Xiang Yi did this, that is, he did not want Mu Qing to be put in danger. Mu Qing looked at me with her big eyes open, and gradually, crystal tears filled her eyes. Her voice was choked and she asked, Lu Su, tell me, where did Xiang Yi go? When I saw her like this, I felt sad. I said, I don't know. He hasn't contacted me for such a long time. Mu Qing stared at me with tearful eyes and said, you lie. You must know his whereabouts. It seems that Mu Qing does not know that Xiang Yi has arrived at Baman Mountain. She only came to me through the gates of Hades. Therefore, I don't know where I am now. Your Majesty Mu Qing, I really don't know where he is. Mu Qing stepped forward and grabbed my arm tightly, impossible. He usually has the best relationship with you, and how could you not know his whereabouts? I still wanted to quibble, but Mu Qing grabbed my wrist and looked at the ghost mark on my palm. After seeing how dim the light of the ghost seal was, Mu Qing burst into tears. Asshole! You don't tell me every time something happens. Am I so annoying to you? Mu Qing squatted on the ground and burst into tears. Su Tianqian and I looked at each other and saw deep helplessness in each other's eyes. Su Tianqian hesitated again and again, stood up, came to Mu Qing's side, slowly squatted down, stretched out his hand and patted Mu Qing's back. Stop crying, I know where he is. Tianqian, you. Su Tianqian glanced at me and said, you can't feel Mu Qing's mood at the moment. Only by experiencing it personally can you know how painful this feeling is. When Mu Qing heard what Su Tianqian said, she slowly raised her head and choked with sobs, Master Tianqian, do you really know where he is? Su Tianqian nodded and said, get up. As he spoke, he very gently helped Mu Qing wipe away the tears on her face. No matter who she faces, Su Tianqian will always be so gentle. This gentleness is driven by the kindness in her heart. After a while, Su Tianqian and Mu Qing sat on the bed, while I stood aside. Immediately afterwards, Su Tianqian told Mu Qing what Xiangyi had experienced at this time. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 989. After hearing this, Mu Qing instantly froze on the spot. Then he said angrily, my father actually let Xiangyi go on such a dangerous mission behind my back. Su Tianqian said, don't blame Xiao Su for this matter. After all, it was Xiangyi who asked him to say that. Her words were obviously meant to defend me. I couldn't help but feel warm in my heart. Mu Qing glanced at me and said, I can understand. Su Tianqian hesitated for a moment and asked, you should have a way to find Xiangyi's whereabouts, right? Mu Qing nodded and replied, yes, but I can't do it alone. I need Lu Su to help. With that said, Mu Qing took out a phoenix hairpin from his pocket. This is a gift from Xiangyi. He said it was passed down from his ancestors. As long as I carry this phoenix hairpin, he can find me. The phoenix hairpin in Mu Qing's hand was very delicate, with excellent carving work, and its folds shone brightly in the dim room. Now I only need Lu Su to inject the power of his ghost seal here, and I will be able to find Xiangyi's whereabouts. I suddenly realized that this is the same as reverse reconnaissance. Since Xiangyi said it, as long as Mu Qing takes Feng Chai with her, Xiangyi will definitely find her. There must be something weird in this Feng Chai. Able to connect with Xiangyi. My ghost seal was originally given to me by Xiangyi. When two identical powers come into contact, I can reversely deduce Xiangyi's whereabouts. Mu Qing carefully handed Feng Chai to me. I looked at the phoenix hairpin in my hand and asked with some confusion, why don't you wear such a beautiful phoenix hairpin? Mu Qing lowered her eyes and said, I want Xiangyi to put it on for me personally. I was slightly stunned. I didn't need to think about the relationship between Xiangyi and Mu Qing. However, Xiangyi doesn't seem to want to be with Mu Qing. The concubine is interested, but the man is ruthless. Obviously this is not the case. Through previous contacts, I can also feel that Xiangyi likes Mu Qing very much. However, he never dared to accept Mu Qing's love. It can be seen just from the fact that Xiangyi doesn't want Mu Qing to be in danger this time. What is the specific reason? The gap between identities. Mu Qinghui is the daughter of Fengdu, and Xiangyi is just a small ghost. After thinking about it, there is only one person who can take it over. I put the phoenix hairpin in my right hand and activated the ghost seal. The power of the ghost seal slowly submerged into Feng Chai. Next, the phoenix hairpin floated up out of thin air and pointed in one direction. It seems that Xiangyi's whereabouts can be found by following the direction Feng Chai pointed. Mu Qing took back Feng Chai, looked at me and said, I also want to go find him with you. Xiangyi's original intention was not to let Mu Qing get involved in this matter. But I couldn't refuse Mu Qing's request right now. I nodded and said, okay, in that case, you can come with us. Mu Qing said thank you. Xiangyi's disappearance made Mu Qing change a lot. Mu Qing was playful and cute before, but now she is a bit calmer. Then I called Huaxiu, Xiaohe, and Miao Fengluan in. Let's talk about going to Bamang Mountain tonight. They said there was no problem. But if so many people go up the mountain, the goal will be huge. After much deliberation, he decided to let Huaxiu and Miao Fengluan stay here. I originally wanted to keep Xiaohe. But thinking that Xiaohe can fly, it should be very convenient to deliver messages and so on. Huaxiu and Miao Fengluan had no objections. Soon night fell and we were ready to head to Bamang Mountain. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanba. Chapter 990. Before leaving, Huaxiu came to me and looked at me with worried eyes. "Brother Imperial, you must be careful this time." I nodded and said, "Don't worry, nothing will happen to me." Huaxiu was silent for a moment and said, "There is something I don't know whether I should tell you." I was stunned for a moment and asked, "What's the matter? Tell me." "It's just, I suddenly felt Huo Qubing's aura last night." "Huo Qubing? What is he doing here?" "Okay, I get it." Huaxiu grabbed my hand and said, "Brother Emperor, the last thing I want to see is you becoming his enemy." I can understand her concerns. Huaxiu is Huo Qubing's wife. If Huo Qubing and I really become enemies, which side will she stand on? According to legend, whether Huo Qubing had a wife or not, Huo Shan was his biological son. Qubing died in Yuanshao for 6 years. In mourning, he was sent to Suanjia, a member of the country, and the army marched from Chang'an to Maling, where they built a tomb like Gilian Mountain. But whether Huo Qubing had a wife in history, I have no idea. Huaxiu hesitated for a moment and said, "Brother Emperor, don't worry, I will be on your side." I smiled, reached out and touched her head, and said, "Don't worry, if this really happens, I won't make it difficult for you." After saying goodbye to Huaxiu and Miao Fengluan, we left the village and headed to Bamang Mountain. The little female ghost was also following us. We don't know anything about Bamang Mountain, so the little female ghost can also act as a guide by our side. Any dangerous places can be avoided in time. The little girl walked in the front. At this moment, a colorful light burst out from between my eyebrows. Colorful rays of light gathered in front of me, and the figure of the colorful butterfly appeared in front of my eyes. She stretched and said, "The refining is finally completed." "Where are we now?" Kadi said to me. I smiled slightly and said, "Didn't your refining time take too long?" Cai Dai shrugged and said, "The toxin of the 5 poison pearls is too powerful, and it is too troublesome to refine it." At this time, Xiao He noticed Cai Dai. Seeing that Nai Dai was still a little girl, he instantly turned on the taunting mode. "Yo yo yo. After disappearing for so long, why are you still a little kid? Look at me, I've transformed." Kaidi rolled her eyes at him fiercely and said, "Ugly." Xiao Hei's face froze, and he pointed at his face in disbelief and said, "Am I ugly? I have a handsome face, okay." Xiao Hei didn't lie, he did look handsome. But his usual behavior looks very silly. "Don't bother me. Do you believe I will beat you?" he said and raised his fist. Xiao Hei sneered and said, "Just you? What can you do to me now? If you jump up, you can at most hit my thigh." Upon hearing this, Cai Dai became angry, jumped up, raised her little foot and kicked Xiao Hei in the crotch. Xiao Hei howled miserably, pointed at Cai Dai and said, "Why are you so vicious? Okay, you two, stop making trouble. I shouldn't bring you two out at the same time next time." These two guys started fighting each other as soon as they met. And it's all a case of never-ending death. Kadi made a face at Xiao Hei. Before we knew it, we had gone deep into Bamang Mountain. However, the little female ghost stopped us.